Good evening, speed gaming, and welcome to our nightly ALTTP randomizer race. We are featuring a new mode called Invrosia tonight. And we will be showing the wonderful runners P-Train, GFE, Fear Agent, and the inventor of Invrosia himself, Big Dunka. I'm Drossi. I'm here with Zaruvian. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing just fine, but I'm hoping to have a lot to talk about on this one because this is going to be a ton of fun.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know, you're probably familiar with the Ambrosia mode that was popular several months back. It's kind of fallen out of favor lately. So Big Dunka decided last month that he wanted to resurrect it only in an inverted form. So this is going to be inverted, guaranteed sword. As you can see, the tracker already has swords marked for all our runners. And boss will always have an item. And then to spread it out a bit, the big keys are wild.
Yep, so it plays kind of like a little inverted key sanity. All of your big keys are going to be shuffled into the main item pool except for Ganon's Tower. The Ganon's Tower big key is still going to be in Ganon's Tower.
But meanwhile, compasses and maps are going to still be in their dungeons, as are the small keys. So it's only big keys that are shuffled around.
And of course, that assured sword is going to give us a little bit of fun. Instead of having to struggle through the inverted opening, you have a little bit of offense.
And apologies here for the technical difficulties the runners have started, but we don't seem to have the video up quite yet.
If my ears don't deceive me, that sounded like a big 20. Well, apparently we're not missing much. Yeah, we are aware that we don't have a stream right now, and we're trying to scramble and figure out what's going on here.
Looks like someone's doing digging game.
Actually, my guess is chest game. Oh, it's actually arrow game. Yeah,
that
in most inverted play is the arrow game is the one place you're going to farm for money. Chess game, of course, costs 80 rupees. Not chess game. Dig game costs 80. Chess game costs 30. So 110 rupees at the minimum here if you want to get them both, assuming you're not going to get anything back.
Yeah, and there are just relatively few checks off the bat in inverted, as opposed to standard or open, where you've got a ton of checks in Kakariko, if nothing else, and then you also have South Shore and Eastern Palace area. There really aren't that many Sphere 1 checks in inverted, so you don't have as many opportunities to just find rupees, so it's easier a lot of the time to farm them in archery game.
The one thing that makes Invrosia interesting, despite the Ambrosia rules in the background saying, hey, your boss is going to have a non-dungeon item, because the big keys are wild, it puts an item back in the front of the dungeon as well. So you'll have a total of 5 things to get out of Thieves' Town, for example. You could have a 4-item front for all you know.
Yeah, and Thieves' Town is actually part of the reason why we shuffled the big keys in Invrosia, because otherwise you could have to do blind like on 3 hearts, and that blind could have your progression because with that sword, blind sphere 1. So shuffling the big keys means that blind is no longer sphere 1.
Well, we're still working on figuring out what's going on with the server here. Oh, I'm seeing something. Hey, look at that.
So 2 of our runners are in Skull Woods here. And looks like GFE just spawned at the Dark Chapel.
So as Drossi was saying, the things that we did with Invrosia to make things a little bit more interesting, you want to keep yourself away from those low percent boss fights early on. So we had the Thieves Town big key along with all the rest of the big keys shuffled around. So you're not stuck doing, say, 4 heart green mail blind with no safeties.
Meanwhile, they do have to do this part of Skull Woods with 3 hearts, green mail, and no safeties, which can be a bit of a pain. Just the map back there.
All right.
Dunka finding a bottle in Thieves Town there. So that could be interesting. If we can get Light World access, that means we can check Sick Kid.
And chat's pointing out one thing that this doesn't actually fix. If you do see a fire rod, that does put Mothula into logic, which is something we really can't do much about. So
And if you see
biggest worry you have.
If you see the Thieves Town big key, that puts blind in logic, but at least there's Sphere 2, not Sphere 1.
The issue is because the game gets so pinched off, it either puts you somewhere else in the Dark World via flippers or hammer, or it gives you early Light World access because the Light Overworld has a lot more to do than our stuff in Village of Outcasts and East Dark World. Yeah, we are aware of some back-end issues that we're trying to worry about getting this stream back up. We do have some audio, but no video for you, so we'll just try to speculate on what's going on since we can't actually see it on the screen here.
Yeah, and apart from that bottle that Big Dunka got in Thieves Town, we don't even know if the runners have picked up any items yet.
A couple things that you can do in Invrosia that you can look at but not get for a little bit while you think about this. One of them is the bumper ledge. Now, because there is an inverted mode, a lot of your geometry has changed. Your entry into the bumper cave is in the light world, and you actually have to be able to mirror back to get whatever that item is. So we can't actually see what it is at present, but it could be something. It could be something you really want, and it's gated by a lot more than you think. It does look like we're gonna swap logic in here for Fear Agent, and if I'm reading that tracker right, Big Dunka's got a lamp, and a couple of our runners have a mushroom already.
Yeah, so I was just checking some of the runners' individual streams, and Thieves Town front was loaded. It had a lamp, it had a glove, and it had that bottle that we saw.
The glove and the lamp are a very interesting combination of items. Because it's inverted, the castle tower is actually in Ganon's tower's position, and you can get to it if you can climb the mountain. Which means we already have bunny walking logically available to our runners here.
And the runners have also checked Hype Cave by this point, and the only remotely interesting thing in it was the blue mail.
Blue mail, when you're in the dark world to start, is really not a bad thing. It's
With
not
3
something
hearts.
you really want to see, because these running into a moblin is 2 hearts on its own, so it hurts quite a bit.
The runners are all flush with cash at this point. The chess game had 300 rupees, among other things, and at least some of them did archery. So they will all be able to pay off Zora very easily once they have access.
And it's important to note that Glove does give us logical access to Zora once we have the light world.
Well, and just looking at some of the runners' trackers, the mushroom has turned up. All 4 of them have it. I don't know where it was, but I'm just checking their individual trackers and they've all marked it. So as you can...
My guess would be Mushroom is probably either the front of Skullwoods or in Village of Outcasts, since you have 3 free checks you can do. We'll never know.
And 3 of the runners are now on Death Mountain, taking the old man on a long tour. So that's one of the changes that we see in inverted mode. And I saw a very quick map check, I believe, in the light world. I believe the 5-6 crystals were both in the light world, Eastern and Hera, and Desert was a pendant.
All right, it does look like we have some content for you, viewers. We have 3 streams. Technical difficulties not allowing us to get the 4th stream up and running here, so we will run with P-Train, GFE, and Big Dunka tonight. And you see GFE is attempting to kern jump here. This is a sequence break. You don't have the logical access to get this part of the Dark World yet.
And he succeeds in the jump.
So while you were stream peaking, the streams are going to be ahead of our broadcast by a few, so we're going to see what you just discovered. We'll see who's got the map check for us. My guess is P-Train will probably do it first thing he gets out through that portal here. I stand corrected.
It's coming from Dunka's side. That was a lightning fast check, but it is indeed 5-6 crystals on both Eastern and Hera and a pendant in Desert.
So now that we've taken the old man home, we're stuck in the light world. We do have a couple things we can look at and possibly obtain. Well, we can look at one. Can't get to it quite yet, but the other one, inside Spectacle Rock's cave, we can get that. But otherwise, P-Train's going to have to save and quit here, as is Big Dunka.
Yeah, can't really progress without the mirror.
Well, that's...
Sorry, you were saying?
That would be our first big key, just sitting there in Spectacle Rock Cave, and it is in logic, so let's see what it has for us here.
Ooh, pod, that's a nice one.
See, and that one's interesting. Because we can't do too much in pod right now with the equipment that we have, but we can... pod's out of logic. You can't actually get to it.
But GFE just bought a potion and is presumably planning to do the potion glitch in pod to get around the fact that he doesn't have a bow. So he might feel a little silly when he gets that pod big key in logic and realizes that he could have had it, unless he already went to Death Mountain and got it and we just missed it.
So P-Train is going up to Death Mountain. Now there's still a couple checks up here you can do because of the changed geometry, of course. If you can play Dodge the Lionel, you got 2 free checks in Super Bunny Cave.
The blue mail is really coming in handy here.
It's like Dunka's already got himself in position to do that. And there's your Moon Pearl. Now you know what that means, right?
What does that mean?
Well, since we see a lamp and you start with a sword.
Oh.
There isn't a beam gating the castle tower entrance up here. Guess what Dunk is going to do?
Yeah, so Agate Tower could well be their logical light world access. This happens a lot more often in Inverted than it does in the other modes, that Agate Tower is your logical access to the other world.
Yeah, you have one less item gating it, and it's considerably more available. You just swap out a sword or a cape for a glove, and there you go. So P-Train with 1 heart's going to have to be a little bit careful here, even with Blue Mail. Can't take too many hits climbing up here.
1 heart and
Dunka's...
Fighter Sword.
Yeah, Fighter Sword Castle Tower climb, never comfortable unless, you know, you're a glutton for punishment.
And of course, since small keys are not shuffled, we are going to get the 2 small keys in those chests. And there is the Cane of Samaria in the 1 chest in Pod Basement that's in Logic.
Well, that is down Logic for sure, and that cane we know is going to be required for Turtle Rock. Now the question is, how late are we going to be able to get to Turtle Rock with the various options of entrance that we have here?
Well, if we were to find the mirror, we could get in very quickly to Laser Bridge.
Yeah, but you need to be able to get to East Death Mountain to do that, and that's a tall order right now.
Oh, right, you have to jump down from the light world, so... you just need either the hookshot or the hammer. In addition to the mirror.
All right, GFE is going to show us these other 2 checks that we know we can get. My guess is they're probably both keys, based on that first item being in the shooter room, which is going to allow him to progress a little bit further. And with rooms being dark, you have the lamp. It's going to be an easy traversal here.
And if he did happen to get that pod big key while our feed was frozen, he will be able to get everything in the back.
P-Train being a little bit more deliberate now with just that half heart to work with. Meanwhile, Donka has taken a room ahead of him. He's going to have 3 hearts going into Aga 1.
That P-Train's patience pays off. And those jars do some pretty good damage to those red guards.
So, Drossi, I'm seeing some numbers in chat. What's with that?
Oh, yeah. So we're about to fight Aghanim, and in a number of his rounds, he can either shoot energy balls or he can shoot blue balls, which are just obnoxious. So, since whether he shoots energy balls or blue balls is seeded, all the runners will see the same number of blue balls, assuming they successfully fire back all the energy balls. So, if you would like to guess a number between 0 and 15, I'm actually seeing everything from 1 to 7 in chat at the moment. What are you thinking, Zaro?
I like to play the law of averages. My number's usually 3, although seeing a 0 is nice. We've already got 1. Ag is going to prove me very wrong today. It'll be interesting to see.
Go ahead.
So it'll be interesting to see what GFE decides to do after clearing up pod here, depending on what else is waiting for us in the back. There's our first heart container, almost 18 minutes into the seed.
Okay, so that wasn't too bad. What was it, 2 blue balls?
I know I saw at least 2, but I don't think I saw anything more than that.
Well, we didn't get to the second lightning strike, so...
That would be 2. And now it's like we're playing open or something.
Yeah, with that Moon Pearl and Light World access, we can just pretend we didn't have to spend 18 minutes in the Dark World.
Didn't mention it. GFE did find the cape as well in pod, and that's the end of the line for him here without that big key.
Well, he's going, so I'm thinking maybe he did get that big key while the stream was frozen.
No, he passed the chest. He didn't go to the chest. He just save and quit out of the second chest in Dark Maze.
Sorry, I was looking in the wrong place. I misparsed how he was doing Dark Maze. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I thought he might have hammer yumped, but because he had a spare key, but not having the big key, you don't do it in this situation. Because if you miss it, it's a huge waste of time.
Yeah, moral of that story is he should have done the in-logic stuff on Death Mountain. Of course, we don't actually know what's going to be in that big chest.
So P-Train's still on half a heart. Can't run into a guard here. He's going to take a couple hearts.
But Big Dunka has shown us that heart container downstairs, so P-Train will soon have his fourth heart container.
GFE showing us, like the other two did earlier, if you're carrying something with the old man, somehow you actually make the old man move faster. It's like he feels bad to be dragging you down because you've got something heavy in your hands. Or, you know, Link just uproots an entire bush.
Yeah, I think it's a guilt trip, basically. Link's like, here, I'm gonna carry this heavy bush. If you can't keep up with me, that's your problem.
And of course, GFE is going to find that big key and probably facepalm instantly.
Big Dunka is setting up a death warp here. Makes sense. Ooh, and we have the book in Zelda's cell.
Now, the book is very important and interesting here. Desert is a pendant on this seat, but the book in Inverted is the only way you can enter Desert Palace in NMG rules. So if you've got a progression, one of those 3 items in Desert, whether it's on Landmo or in the front.
2 items.
Well, 3, because the big key's wild.
Oh, right. Forgot that. I'm not used to this wild big keys with maps, compasses, and small keys not being shuffled.
So now we got the lamp. We don't have the key, so the key is probably in the back of Escape here, but Dunka's going to give us a look at what's in Dark Cross. And I wager we probably need that for later.
I mean, it's only a 5/6 crystal there.
So, of course, with the defeat of Aghanim, we now have a portal right here at the castle gate in the Dark World. With this little geometry change, once Ag is dead, that becomes available to our runners. So now it's treating it like we're playing Open Sphere 1, so we have a lot of item checks that we can make here.
Now, unfortunately, given where the portals are, just as getting to Graveyard area in the Dark World is normally difficult, as you can see from Dunka's side, it's a bit of a hike to get to Graveyard in the Light World in Inverted.
Yeah, getting to the Graveyard was never easy to begin with, and now it's even harder. Actually, getting around is generally more interesting in the Light World because in Inverted modes, that flute only works in the Dark World. Hello, Master Sword.
Yeah, it's nice that you can just walk up to Graveyard Ledge in Inverted, and now I imagine Dunka will just drop down into the back of Escape. One other change here is that because of the worlds being reversed, you can only get at King's Tomb if you have the mitts.
just seeing a lot of big keys thrown around here. We had Skullwoods at the mushroom spot. That was Thieves Town. Then we had Turtle Rock to follow. There's another bottle, too.
So now the back of Thieves Town, including Blind, is fully in logic. Ooh, half magic is nice.
Alrighty, just going to say hello to those of you joining us from Speed Gaming Espanol and Portuguese. This is the daily race for Link to the Past Randomizer, and tonight we're playing Invrosia, Inverted Ambrosia.
And P-Train's showing us the Kakariko well here with its 5 checks. Nothing so far.
See, I like what GFE's doing with that Sequence Broken Cane, making these ball and chain guards a little bit easier to deal with.
And there's our 3rd sword, though P-Train's 2nd.
Oh, that's going to be tempered for Dunka. That's going to be real comfortable. Oh, there's a big key on Lumberjack. Chances are we'll be looking for a pair of boots somewhere in this seat as well.
And there's our mirror.
Oh, now things are just getting silly. So that mirror gives us access to Meyer in lieu of the flute. That's 2 free checks in Meyer Shed and potential ability to go in, provided boots are a hookshot. But we don't have any of the medallion coins yet.
And
there's another big key. So that means we got, what, 5 or 6? We have Pod, Thieves Town, Skullwoods, Turtle Rock. That was Hera.
And Ripped.
All right, so again, this just ends up being kind of... It's more interesting because you've got more enemies on the overworld after defeating Aghanim. But it's still just a bunch of overworld things that you can do right off the bat once you have light world access in Invrosia. You're basically in overworld clear mode until you have the necessary items to finish a dungeon.
Yeah, that bow would certainly make a difference. We have that Eastern Big Key. Though I guess, if Desert isn't boots locked, it's full clearable. P-Train also showing us how you can do Smith Chain without the mitts in inverted mode.
Yes, indeed. This will allow you to turn in the Smith. And if you have a hammer, you can go ahead and do the Peg Cave. We don't have one yet. And then you pick up the purple chest. You just continue on your merry way because you're going in that direction anyway, right?
Sure, I think we'll probably see the inside of Desert before too long at this rate. And with that Master Sword and the book, we can also get Bombos on the way.
Now, P-Train is going to go ahead and buy some bombs here.
And it looks like we've just switched over to 2 racers here.
We're getting the keys on the screen for everybody so we can see who's got what big key. Because that's important to keep note of.
Oh, right. That's the trade-off, that the layout, if you're tracking keys, the layout only allows for 2 restreamed runners.
So P-Train, seeing that we had bombs waiting in K45, so didn't have to buy those, but, you know, we've got 900 rupees even after that. We're good.
So now we get our bombos check.
It's one of the 2 green rupees that you don't want to see.
P-Train going for a Gina while he's on this side makes sense. And then there, as you said, 3 checks in Desert, not 2. We also have Desert Ledge, and we can mirror and do Mire Shed, and can't actually go into Mire because we don't have the boots or the hook shot.
You can also get Checkerboard Cave while you're up here because they made it accessible. It's no longer on an inclined plane.
Right, it in Cave 45 just magically got onto flat terrain here.
Alright, while we pick up this heart container, I do want to apologize for the technical issues once again. And I will just extend an invitation. Even though we've lost Fear Agent and Big Dunka, please give these 2 runners a follow. Of course, this is Dunka's brainchild, Is Invrosia mode. And Fear is involved with League very, very handily. So, 2 of the big names in our community. There's our 4th sword.
So I imagine these runners are pretty likely to get Butter Sword. Thanks to Back of Escape, P-Train will probably be over in Check Graveyard Ledge at some point.
So it's interesting to note, we do not have the Desert Big Key, so the big chest is going to be off limits to us unless it's for some reason vanilla here.
Oh yeah, I guess that means Landmo's also off limits.
Sure is. But that's a small key telling us, hey, we can go get these 2 items on the right side, whatever they may be.
And that was just junk. So let's now see what we can't get that's on the torch.
Well, since we know it's not going to be the big key, it can still be a big key. But today it's just a burrito.
So that means that the Big Chest and Landmo both have items. Would be funny if the boots are in Mire Shed.
Hey, in just a moment we're probably going to find out. But first, P-Train's going to pick up that sword, and that's going to make a lot of the combat on the overworld much more comfortable for him. Meyer, yet another one of our 3 pendants. Let's see if he has a peek at the entry. It is Bombos. And nothing waiting for us in Mire Shed.
So GFE's getting his Master Sword there. Which means he'll almost certainly get the 2 remaining swords as he goes through Kakariko and the desert area.
Yeah, I was going to say, if I had to hazard a guess, if any of our runners are going to skip a sword, it's probably a Graveyard Ledge. Although Desert Ledge is another one you might end up not going to just because of where it is. I've been told book is bait, and I have bitten on it a few times, so I wouldn't be surprised if someone gives it a big ol' pass.
But they do need to go to Meyer at some point. Oh no, actually, Meyer is a pendant.
Well, there's your Swamp Big. Can't do much with Swamp Palace now, even though we can access it. You don't have a hammer, you don't have flippers. We're not talking about Swamp just yet.
And the big key only gets you the big chest.
So that means that that big key that's sitting up where we can only see it may actually end up being required for our runners.
Hey, now we can do one check in Swamp. So we have the ice big key and the flippers, but we can't enter ice without either the fire rod or bombos.
That is true. It is accessible with the flippers and only the flippers. But unless you can kill that freeze ore in the front, we're not doing anything with it.
Well, Ice Rod Cave was a dud.
GFE decided to go have a read of the pedestal, and today it's just couch cash. So the pendants themselves are not going to be very useful, but the bosses will have items, and if you've played enough Ambrosia, you already know that it's not the kindest mode in the world.
So Pete Train is going to be getting his butter sword here.
I think he's planning on going ahead to turn in the mushroom. I can't think of another reason why he would have taken that whirlpool to come up here.
Or is he going to do Back of Escape now? I guess he can do Back of Escape through to Sanctuary and then go back to Witches.
Yeah, and without mitts and without the hammer, the only actual way we can go to and from the Dark World to the Light World right now is through that Aga 1 portal in the front of the castle. So our runners right now are kind of pinched on what kind of route decisions they can make.
Well, with those flippers, P-Train can continue past the Witch and get 4 more checks with Waterfall, Fairy, Zora, and Zora Ledge.
And if he chooses to do so, he can actually take them and get the island item, as that has also been given a ladder in the Light World.
GFE picking up his half magic there.
So we have, so far, a lot of big keys, a lot of movement items, but not much by way of progression. And of course, the 2 movement items you'd like to see the most, being your boots and your flute, they are currently absent.
I think what the runners probably really want to see is the hammer to unlock all those portals.
I would say hammer or hookshot, because hookshot will give you East Death Mountain easy, and that is a lot of checks for us.
P-Train making a U-turn there. I was wondering why he'd been going left.
Now he's doing exactly as I thought he was going to do. He's going to go ahead and check the mushroom.
Yeah, I was just surprised he walked left at all coming out of Sank.
I think he realized he's right here and he can actually do up to Zora if he wants, or he can take the other portal and go south of the bomb shop. Mushroom coming in so early. This has to have something, right? Nope.
But hey, good opportunity to get a blue goo. Especially when you're that rich.
And this is one advantage that GFE has, because if he finds the hammer and decides not to turn in that mushroom, depending on where Powder is, he's already sequence broken Cane of Samaria. He can choose to fake Powder. We're getting ready to see what the Waterfall Fairy has as we've let the bees out. Well, at Hazard, we're gonna need that, I think. So, no Ice Rod hunt tonight.
Might have a fire rod hunt at this rate. And welcome to the 151 folks joining us from Speed Gaming 2. You're just in time for 40 minutes into the inaugural Invrosia Daily Race.
Oh, look what King Zora is stashing up in the grass.
Okay, I wasn't saying fire rod hunt. No, definitely wasn't.
I don't think we're hunting for much at this point. All we really need is a hammer or a mitt, and we can talk about doing the back of Turtle Rock already.
That was not a hammer or a mitt.
No, it was not. Yes, for those of you just joining us from Speed Gaming 2 or otherwise, this is Invrosia, Inverted Ambrosia, where you start with the Assured Sword with no boots hint in the Dark World. Your bosses have a non-dungeon item, and your big keys, except for Ganon's Tower, are shuffled into the main item pool, making for a very interesting experience here for our runners.
So it looks like P-Train is going to do the water checks down here. Or maybe he's just going straight to Ice Palace. Okay, not bothering with Hobo or Lake Hylia Island, and he mirrors directly into Ice Palace.
That's one thing you need to be aware of in Inverted, is a lot of your light to dark world geometry is a little bit different. So I would expect to see more bonks like that in the next few minutes here. Few minutes, in the next hour.
And, with a Fire Rod, Half Magic, and Butter Sword, P-Train should make easy work of this place. The only thing is he does not have that Cane of Samaria, so he will have to do the bomb jump.
And actually, even though we have the Ice Palace big key, the dungeon itself is out of logic without the hookshot, and we can't get to Cold Stare without the hammer.
Oh, right, that hammer is going to keep us out of several checks. In fact, P-Train is not going past that first check.
I would hazard that he probably would have kept, oh, hello, hammer.
If he hadn't been so hasty to go into ice.
He probably would have kept going if that first check was a key. Now it's just a moot point. I was actually kind of surprised he didn't just go check that in Hobo on his way up. He went straight to Ice Palace and said, okay, let's see what the first item up for bid is. GFE making his way into Desert. He'll be disappointed with what lies within. Of course, he has the option to pick up that gold sword if he wants. So not having the hook shot or the cane, meaning we're going to have to, without question of a doubt here, do an Ice Palace bomb jump.
Which is so quaint, you hardly ever see it these days.
And this is the kind of situation I talk about every time I pull up one of these races, and you never know if you're going to see the cane going into Ice Palace or not. So if you just want to get it out of the way... Well, he's not going to flip the switch. Oh yeah, he already did.
And
never mind.
There's GFE's butter sword, so... Indeed, given those locations, both of our runners are going to have no trouble for the rest of the game beating most enemies.
Unfortunately, no way to avoid the little fire bar there.
I'm so not used to people going through here without the hook shot. And GFE picks up his Fisher-Price shield from the dam.
Ooh, I know exactly what P-Train's going to do here. He's setting up to do a second Ice Palace jump in this room, which is normally what the hook shot is gating logically. And that'll allow him to get to the right side and swipe that key from the middle. Very well done by P-Train there. That's not one you see every day, but it's a nice one.
Yeah, I don't even know, like, how many pixels margin of error you have for lining it up.
I know it's a one-frame tap to be faced in the right direction. A lot of these are actually a lot easier if you know how to do a ledge spin. But if you're a scrub like me, you don't know how to do that, so...
And over on the other side, GFE is getting his flippers. I wonder if he'll jump in and discover the hammer sooner rather than later. How about that?
Yeah, he just did a 180 and he said, I want that. I probably need that. In fact, I really do. So remember, P-Train does have a red potion from the waterfall, so he can take a few hits here and still be okay going down to Cold Stare. Cold Stare, of course, is going to be a joke with that gold sword.
He also bought a blue potion on his way to the waterfall.
Yeah, we're not worried about survivability here. And this is a check we didn't get to see from P-Train, and it's pocket change.
I can't win them all. That hammer was big enough.
All right, so that big chest has something for us here.
So GFE's gonna find nothing in Ice Rod Cave, and then the question is, will he use the whirlpools to get to Zora area and discover his rods?
I think P-Train was a little bit disappointed with his bomb placement there because he just backed out and did it again.
Yeah, that blue mail definitely helping, though. given that he's now low on health.
Oh, hello,
Hey!
boots! And those boots we know are going to give us a big key waiting at Lumberjack and give us a couple other checks as well. So GFE not being plagued with the thoughts of the mushroom, since you're probably going to want to fake powder that with the hammer anyway, deciding to give Witch's Hut a pass, and he's going to get his ice and fire rod in just a moment here. Yeah, it's just some rupees on Cold Stare.
It is also our first crystal of the game at the 49-minute mark.
This is, by my experience with this mode, the latest I've seen anyone pick up a crystal.
GFE getting the good news about his fire rod.
I'm seeing a question in chat. People are asking, what is Invrosia? Well, that's simple, my friends. If you're familiar with Ambrosia, you know your bosses are going to have non-dungeon items in their drop pool. But instead of starting in the light world with a boots hint, we start in the dark world with the big keys scattered into the item pool. It's inverted, it's Ambrosia, it's one heck of a puzzle. And you'll see we actually have a good number of our big keys already. And the boots are only gating one of two, and they're both for pendant dungeons. One of them is Desert, the other one is Mire. Of course, the big key that we saw that we can now pick up is on the Lumberjack Ledge. And yes, it can't be the Ganon's Tower big key, because that is waiting for us in Ganon's Tower. It is the only one not shuffled in.
Hey, with the runners being more or less through their first row of hearts, it's hard to remember that it was like 20 minutes into the seed before they even got their fourth heart container.
And for GFE, his first heart container upgrade was actually a sequence break. So P-Train with the Fire Rod and the Skullwoods big key is going to go back into Skullwoods. Now, since we had technical difficulties at the start of the stream, we didn't get to see how many items our runners picked up. P-Train is going for that hover, and he nails it. So GFE is actually headed elsewhere here. He's going to go into the eastern area and visit Sahasrara. Oh, there's your hook shot. And that actually does a fair bit of something here. So with the hookshot, our runners with the ability to go to the light world with the natural portal that would normally take you outside of Ganon's Tower, GFE is going to be able to get Paradox Cave, Spiral Cave, and with the hammer he can go to Hera. Meanwhile, P-Train dispatches Mothula and now has a second crystal. Moth, of course, only having a heart container for us here. Both runners at least 10 hearts now. And I think GFE was thinking about it, didn't want to run into the Kirby that wants to tell you about a song he wrote. And he had the option to go to Hookshot Cave, and I think he passed on it, because this is a higher density of checks right here in the Light World. Does have the mirror, so Hookshot Cave is still on the table here, as is finishing up Trinex, provided a small key on Laser Bridge.
Well, and with that Cane of Samaria, we can also backtrack through Turtle Rock in the other direction.
Indeed we can. Inverted being the mode where you'll actually get to see our runners do Turtle Rock from the back to the front, completely circumventing that medallion requirement for the entrance. And doesn't look like we're getting a lot of help out of Paradox Cave here, though. And there's your powder, so that's a nice one to have. It does open up one check, and it's a good safety.
It also means we don't need to worry about having burned the mushroom.
That it does. And now GFE is going to go ahead and read the pedestal to see whether or not he wants to go chasing after that big key on Lumberjack.
You mean P-Train?
Did I say GFE? I don't even know which screen I'm watching. This is why I'm wearing glasses. You know, he had 12 hearts coming up here. He's now at 15, pardon me. There's a third bottle. It's a very healthy Hookshot Cave.
And P-Train's gonna grab that key out of Lumberjack now.
So it has to be either Desert or Mire. And if it's Mire, then we're probably looking for Bombos, because that could be telling us something. But it is Desert.
So now the question is, are either of those two remaining items in Desert going to be something useful, like, say, a bow? Or is it all just a red herring?
That's 2 keys on Laser Bridge, allowing you to reverse about as much as you could ever ask for of Turtle Rock. I think the right call here would be to just knock out Trinex here.
Apparently GFE disagrees with you. I was thinking the same thing, because knocking out Trinex also opens the front of Turtle Rock, and then you can just do it from the front, which we otherwise couldn't because we don't have the medallion.
Don't have the medallion. Don't have the mitts if you wanted to go to the Light World from that spot.
And here P-Train's gonna do Hammer Pegs and Magic Bat. No, not Magic Bat. He's the one who doesn't have powder yet.
So to answer a question in chat, the red cane was in Palace of Darkness. GFE decided to sequence break it because Pod in this circumstance is bow-locked.
That was in the one non-bow-locked chest in Pod, though. The sequence break at the time was we didn't have the hammer to get over to East Dark World, so he used a Kern jump. But
that he did.
The red cane is now in Logix since we have the hammer.
And now GFE is going to show us one other quirk about the mountain here. We already saw us get to Laser Bridge with a quick mirror. Mimic Cave now has a drop-down point. And then you can mirror back, and it's the only way to get to the Turtle Rock big chest. So we have every big key in the entire world except for Mire. Of course, Ganon's Tower's big key is still going to be within Ganon's Tower.
Which means we'll also get to play the Sacred Game.
We've had this Thieves' Town big key for a while, so I'm not really surprised that P-Train is giving this a go, especially now having the hammer.
Maybe we'll find a bow back here. That's really our big missing item now.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but wouldn't a bow put us in no mode?
I do believe between, the cane and the fire rod and the boots, any GT big key location is in logic.
Don't worry, Chad. I know GFE walked right past the big chest Turtle Rock, but I'm going to hazard a guess that mirror's in his pocket for a reason.
You were saying? But now he needs to circle all the way around back to Laser Bridge to get to Trinex. I guess it's not that long of a hike through Paradox Cave.
Oh, it's not so bad.
What is Blind's pun of the day?
There's the audible I was waiting for. He is going to go check out Ether and Hera before we go ahead and take out Trinex here.
There's the bow!
Who said we needed a bow while P-Train was scouring through Thieves Town? That would be none other than Drosy 1.
So that puts us in no mode.
Now, wait a minute. Ether, what are you doing up here? This is Randomizer.
And Ether is good for exactly nothing in this seed. Except it might be useful for killing Stalfos and GT.
Oh, so now P-Train's going to be able to combo Eastern and Desert. Eastern and Pod. He's going to find a hookshot in Sahasrala's closet. That should put him in go mode. Well, once he gets the Cane of Samaria, he'll be in go mode.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, and Pod's a pendant, so he'll just get that first chest, and that'll be that for him and Pod.
Yeah, and I'll just quickly remind everybody, we're calling this go mode because while the big keys are all shuffled around, the only one that is not is the big key in Ganon's Tower. That you have to find the good old-fashioned way with a 22 guessing game.
And the game has nicely fed us every other big key except for Meyer. A lot of them showed up fairly early on.
Here's our first look at Moldorm from GFE. Of course, this should be a joke.
Yeah, with a butter sword, it's like hi Moldorm, bye Moldorm.
It was about 3 seconds, I want to say.
And we get the best meringue.
What I'd be interested in finding out is whether or not we see the other bow.
Well, we still have items on all these bosses that we haven't beaten yet.
And that is not a small number of bosses to fight either.
So it does make it a bit likelier than in a regular open mode or a regular inverted mode seed that we might find it, just because those are guaranteed item checks.
Oh, and GFE, without boots, is going to have to walk through Spiral Cave. And I'll tell you, this feels slower than it looks, and it looks slow.
It's amazing how much these runners have diverged just as a result of GFE's sequence break and getting that early cane.
Well, see, P-Chain's still looking at checks here. He doesn't have the King of Samaria, so that's the one thing he's looking for. And the Eastern Dungeon is like, he's taking this gamble and not going to the big key location.
Well, at least we know it'll pay off. That was pretty swag, dashing into the key kind of as it bounced. So GFE now going back into Laser Bridge to finish off Trinex, and we will see what the three-headed monster has for us. I guess I should have said the three-necked monster, because who cares how many heads he has, it's the necks that are important.
Meanwhile, P-Train is perfectly set up to execute this quick kill on the Armos Knights, and just like that, oh, he missed one shot. That's easy to recover as long as you're still in a shot line with the sixth Knight, but if you happen to miss one and they just keep hopping around you, that quick kill goes bye-bye real fast. And that was a nice 2 spins on the head of Trinex for GFE, so now that's Trinex out of the way for him. And the other green ruby.
Yeah, it's funny how if you know what you're doing against Trinex and you come in there with the gold sword like the game expects you to have, it's actually not that hard to fight.
Is this the Swamp Palace play for P-Train?
Sure looks it. We're going to need that crystal.
I'm a little confused why he didn't mirror back and open up Pod while he was over there.
Oh, yeah, good point. So he may full clear swamp for all we know, looking for that cane.
And that's exactly the thing that I'd worry about seeing Pendant Pod, because in so many different circumstances, it doesn't matter what your world state is. It's got 5 items. It's likely to have what you need. So by going into Pod early, GFE is actually making up quite a bit of time while P-Train makes these extra checks.
Woulda, coulda, shoulda been go mode. P-Train will probably be kicking himself after this.
So what GFE needs to do right now is he needs to go into Ice Palace. But instead he's going to go clean up what's going on here on the west side of the Dark World, which is good, because that'll give him a bow, and for that, he will be in go mode. And he picked Thieves' Town first, and he's going to be very happy with what he finds back here.
I feel bad for P-Train now. He was so close.
P-Train still has one thing that GFE doesn't have, and that's why I'm so hoping that GFE makes his way to Ice Palace sooner than later.
Gotta
Those
go fast.
boots. Those boots are going to save P-Train a lot of time on all these extra checks. So the advantage is not as big as it seems.
And also, P-Train is well on his way to his 5th crystal, so just by crystal count, P-Train still has quite a lead.
Yeah, GFE has a lot of cleaning up to do. Meanwhile, P-Train's going to be able to cover a lot of ground in a very short period of time.
P-Train elected not to do the bomb setup for Diver Down, and of course he can't do the cane setup.
Of course, this Argus fight is going to be very simple. See, just like that, very simple.
Hey,
well, there's your bombos. Oh no.
I really hope he doesn't go into Mire without the cane.
I am right there with you. I'm actually really worried about that Bombo showing up where it does, because it could take you down a very bad path.
I mean, and if he's gonna dive Pendant Dungeons, Pod is a much more logical choice than Mire because it has so many more items. Ooh, but he's going for the mountain.
This is not a bad call just because of how many items are waiting up here for you.
Yeah, it's just that he could have go-moded all this.
This is true.
I don't know if he just decided to swear off Pendant Dungeons because Desert was full of junk.
Well, that is the bow for GFE, and that should functionally put him in go mode here.
At an hour 11.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't check much else at all for the rest of the seed.
And we should remind you that these are really two of the better runners in the game, that they're both in the top 25 from the Speed Gaming Live qualifiers, which just concluded last week. For those of you who might not be aware, there's going to be an 80-person Link to the Past Randomizer tournament at Speed Gaming Live, which will be held the second week of November. And over $2,000 in prize money with that tournament.
Yeah, Speed Gaming Live is going to have a big field of all kinds of talent, so keep an eye out for that. They are playing open boots for that tournament this year. And with that, I do want to say, I did put the shout out in chat there. If you want to give P-Train and GFE a follow. Do also want to shout out that we did have Logic, we did have Fear Agent, we did have the brainchild behind this mode, Big Dunka, on our stream, but unfortunately technical issues prevented us from having a 4-person layout today. So give all 5 of these people and all of the other 10 entrants behind them, all racing on race time right now, a big old round of applause, a follow, a like. And that's a dead moth for GFE. Of course, the Gold Sword lending to that very easily. I do also want to shout out... Oh, that's the runner's command. Zaru, get with it. I do also want to shout out Drossi for joining me on the commentary tonight. Jinxie Girl is tracking. Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna was with us. I believe he's still watching in the background there.
Yeah, since this is the first time we broadcast this mode, we weren't sure what layout to be using, and we had some technical difficulties earlier in the race, so we wound up just using a two-racer layout, so we went down to one tracker.
And of course, a big thank you to everyone out here in the speed gaming community and the Link to the Past Randomizer community for supporting our daily races and allowing us to share in the fun and festivities with us. If you didn't see it earlier, yeah, that is a vanilla ether. I am unimpressed.
So GFE will be go-moding Swamp here. Now, P-Train didn't do the left side, which is good for him. But again, if he were go-moding Hera, he'd just go straight up, wouldn't have to duck back down to the big chest level. Except that that was the item, and he knows the other items on Moldorm, so he can skip the big chest anyway.
Well, there's still one item out there.
Oh no, because we have 3 items in Hera, right, because of the big key. I'm getting used to this mode.
And Tesla Coil in chat pointing out for us that P-Train found all 3 medallions in a span of about that many minutes. So, yeah, that's a thing. We're worried about that. Bombos, of course, was on Argus, so he might chase that into Mire. And people asking where the Cane of Samaria was. It's the first check-in pod in the shooter room. GFE did a kern jump and sequence broke to it earlier. P-Train had the opportunity to mirror into the region and decided to keep chasing crystals instead.
Speaking of crystals, there is his 6th, but he's not going to get that 7th unless he gets the Cane of Samaria or is a really good hoverer.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see one heck of a hover here. Do you think he at least gives it one shot? We've already seen P-Train hover once on the seed.
He may well. It's tough, but I've seen runners do it.
I have a feeling he's going to go ahead and full clear TR here. As much as he can, anyway.
And meanwhile, GFE will continue catching up because he has Go Mode Ice and Go Mode Eastern after this. And Ice is a pretty easy walk.
That one circumstance I might be worried about for GFE is if he skips the boots, there is that 1 in 22 chance every seed that your Ganon's Tower Big Key is going to be sitting on the torch. So if he just go modes through Ice and doesn't pick up the big chest, he has that small chance of being in a pickle later on.
Well, and if P-Train continues this way and hovers to Trinex, he has a 5 in 22 chance of being in a pickle in GT.
This is true, because that is 5 checks that you clearly cannot get without Cane of Samaria. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. The entire right side of GT is blocked off without that cane.
And that's as far as P-Train can go in that direction, so let's see what he does about Laser Bridge here.
There is one thing I might be concerned about P-Train finding, and that would be Mitts. Because it doesn't actually open up too much, but it does divert him into thinking about King's Tomb, potentially.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think at this point that's the only thing it opens.
Yeah, to those new to the inverted mode, because you have so many other ways to get to most places that are locked in a regular open world, the Mitts end up being purely a suggestion here. GFE having a little bit of fun with a Kina Samaria block, attempting Icebreaker. And P-Train doing exactly what I talked about just about an hour ago. Some of the geometry is very strange between the light and dark world. Having a mirror bonk right at the entrance to Laser Bridge. I think we're going to see it, chat. We're going to see a hover from P-Train going to Trinex. What do you think, Drossi?
Sure looks it. And he's got 15 hearts, so he can try quite a few times.
He's also got a potion that he never used earlier, so there's a lot to think about here. Here it goes. Here's the grand hover, everybody.
Slow and steady.
That torch right there is the halfway mark.
And
he's still going.
And there are GFE's boots. Oh, no!
Just barely. He's maybe 5 seconds from the end. But that's not going to stop him. He's going to get this.
It's tough because the more you do it, the more it hurts your fingers and makes it difficult to keep doing it.
Meanwhile, we've got GFE about to make very quick work of Cold Stare. I think there was a Cold Stare on the screen anyway.
I blinked.
I think what I saw, there was just a lot of explosions in the corner and then a crystal popped out of the sky. I'm not sure what that boss is called. Chat, got a name for me?
Oh, no. I was so optimistic about that one.
He is about halfway out of hearts here, but he's still got plenty of time. GFE's got a little bit of cleaning to do still, but he's only got Eastern left. And once again, if you're joining us and watching P-Train attempt what is probably the most beneficial hover in the entire game, the Kina Samaria is waiting in the first check of pod.
It has been in logic ever since we got the hammer on Lake Hylia Island.
Forget the hammer, it's been in logic since we got the flippers in Mini Moldorm Cave.
Oh, right, because we also had the mirror. Actually, with the mirror, we didn't even need the flippers for it to be in logic. I forgot about that.
Inverted logic, everybody.
And it's not a mode that's played that often anymore, so it's easy to forget all the logic of it. Come on, P-Train.
Everybody send your good vibes to P-Train. This could be the one.
No!
I had to open my mouth. Commentator curse is so real with this one.
He does remember there's a heart under the pot there, right?
He's got the red. He's still got a blue potion in the inventory. He's not worried about it.
I just hope his, thumb and index finger don't fall off. I can't hover myself, but I've watched a number of people do it in person, and it is just murder on your fingers.
I think it's murder on your fingers. Imagine how many players have had to rebuild controllers because you just mashed the A button. And a nice quick kill from GFE.
I know one player who actually has swapped his A and R buttons because he finds it easier to hover on the R button.
Oh, P-Train.
No!
Oh! Right there. Right there. A couple more frames forward and he has it. I don't want to take it away from P-Train, but GFE has finished his 7th crystal. He has gone into Ganon's tower. We're going to see where that big key is.
What's your guess, Zaro?
I like to hop around a bit. I'm going to take 15 today.
Which, if GFE had gone to Hope Room first before going left, would be the vanilla location, but it looks like he's probably doing Dark Magician. Oh, poor P-Train.
What would really spell it for P-Train here, if he gets this hover and he goes to GT, GFE is about to show us the right side. I don't think there's rage in here. Maybe a little bit of frustration, but this is nothing easy, and P-Train is one of the better players on the world. So I would be willing to guess that he's got a cool head. And even cooler nerves, because there it is!
Wow. Phew. And the big key is not on the right side. P-Train is going to be fine from here on out.
And he doesn't have to even attempt the right side, so he'll be going full left. But he's still got a little bit of time to make up if he wants to catch up to GFE.
Yeah, it's going to be tough since GFE did get those boots.
So now this is all about the climb and the fight here.
And also, GFE with that cane will be able to get through those Wizrobe rooms up the tower faster.
Oh, and the big key is in the sociable firebar room.
Some of us just like to call that map chest. P-Train? Where are you going?
I'm worried that he's going to go check Spike Cave, just in case the cane is there. Oh no, he's doing a reset to the light world so that he can spawn at GT.
Oh, that makes sense, because he doesn't have the mitts, so he can't use any of the portals on the east side. I wonder how that compares if he had just saved and quit to Link's house and used the portal at Hyrule Castle.
Anybody who wanted to guess for the Ganon's Tower Big Key guessing game, since we kind of sprung on it with all the hover hype from P-Train, it was in location 12 in the firebar room. So who guessed 12? There's a few 12s. The first one I see is Tesla Coil.
And shout outs also to our Lily and Jay Dilts. It was a very popular number.
Congratulations, you get bragging rights for the remainder of the seed, however little or long it may take.
Now the only question is, will silvers show up during the climb?
I'm going to bank on no. I have this hunch that silvers are in mire. Silvers aren't going to be a lot of help for GFE anyway. He doesn't have any arrows.
But look at how quickly he mowed through those Wizrobe rooms with the cane, and P-Train is not going to be able to do that.
We've got Chimo asking in chat, where were the boots? The boots were in Ice Palace Big Chest.
And since Shimo is hanging out in chat, we might as well point out that he was our overall winner tonight with an official race time of 1:26.28. So GG's to him for finishing bootless too.
So as P-Train enters the gauntlet, GFE not even bothering looking for silvers. He doesn't need them. You know you're feeling, silver's schmilver when you pass that last chest in the game right there. Gold Sword is plenty on its own merits. With half magic and fire rod, the Ganon fight's going to be pretty easy.
At least it makes the first 3 phases fast.
Also, he has 17 hearts. He can take a lick and keep on ticking.
As long as he doesn't take a fall. Ganon falls are the great equalizer.
Yeah, the inverted world does make it a little bit less punishing to fall, at least. Because, you can save and quit right back to the entrance. Yeah, without the cane, P-Train's going to be having to resort to a couple bow shots on these Wizrobes. Not working out for him here.
Yeah, it took a few cycles. Oh, well, Chimo's telling us that they're not going to get those silvers because they were left side swamp.
Yeah, and both of our runners decide to give that the big old skip. But that's Ganon, and it's deja vu. Everything's upside down. But we still meet in the end in the same spot. P-Train thinking the same thing. I don't need no silver arrows. I got butter, and I'm going to grease a pig.
And down goes Moldorm on P-Train's side.
And there's the hint.
And so that would have told us it had to be left side anyway, because P-Train cleared everything but left side.
That's GFE set up for some triples with that torch glitch and the fire rod out. Gets that first cycle of them just fine. Misses one. So this will be a double. Meanwhile, P-Train's got to deal with whatever Ag is throwing at him. Man, for how many extra checks P-Train did on the seed, that one sequence break by GFE put him ahead, and he stayed that way. And that is it for GFE. Taking down Ganon, now he just has to worry about this little bridge here. Let's get some GGs in chat for GFE as he walks across this treacherous little 1x3 and finishes first out of our two runners and fourth overall on race time with a 1:34.21. GG, GFE.
And just to give shout outs to second and third, second was Shire at 128.42, and third was Fear Agent, whom we unfortunately had to crop out after those technical difficulties, and he got 130.24. And with P-Train now on Ganon, we will wait to interview both of our featured runners at the same time.
For how vastly different these paths were, to be separated by a Ganon fight on this seed is something to behold for this mode in the first place. And just one more shot on phase 3 here, and we'll get to see how P-Train handles some spins.
I lost count. What are we up to? About 4?
That was the fourth one. As he finishes the triple, there's 5. Here comes 6. Now, some players will actually count out loud as they're doing it, and some players will just be like, I don't know, I'm just spinning until he's dead. I don't care.
I think we only have one more. Yep.
Yes, there it goes. And that is a Ganon done for P-Train. So let's see some GGs in chat for the man who hovered across Turtle Rock. P-Train will finish in 5th place with a 1:36.24 on race time. And that'll do it for our stream coverage. Let's see if we can get P-Train in here, and we can talk to GFE, who has already joined us.
Yep, we now have both members of the co-op team Sphere Finite in here with us.
Hey.
We also have Fear Agent joining us from Austria.
GFE, I'm really happy for you. I'm going to let you finish, but Kimo had one of the best runs of all time.
Fear. Oh, he's going to run away.
GFE, your mic's working tonight.
I'm having to stay pretty quiet because of the baby, so...
okay. Sorry for throwing you out the airlock last night because of your mic being off.
Yeah, I was innocent.
It wasn't him, the baby was the imposter.
To Fear's point, if I had chosen to go back to finish Thieves Town and Skull before even touching the mountain, I would have farmed Fear pretty easily.
As it was, your sequence break into pod paid off with that early cane.
Yeah, that was... I was hoping that would pay off more. That's why I went for the mountain and TR. But if I'd have gone for Thieves Town, I would have gotten the bow and been able to go mode the entire mountain. And that would have just been such a huge time save, because inverted Death Mountain is awful.
Well, I think you still beat out P-Train in terms of putting off go mode items.
GG's P-Train. I'm curious what he put off.
I never found the cane.
Well, that's because it was the first chest in pod, which I got before even going to Death Mountain the first time.
Yeah, I kind of want to recount. Like, I hovered, so I should have won. Like, that's how it works, right?
So this was the tale of 2 sequence breaks for you guys. GFE did a very early kern jump and got Kane well before he even climbed up to Castle Tower. And you did a very gutsy hover across to Trinex. What did you two think about how the seed kind of panned out for you guys?
I mean, I felt pretty bad when I found the bow, to be honest, because I had just full cleared the mountain. But everything else felt pretty good. I did realize about the time I was over in South Shore that I forgot to mirror and check Mire Shed, so that had me worried a bit.
Yeah, I felt great. I was like, man, I'm gonna hover TR and I'm gonna win by 30 minutes.
Except it was just the first chest of pod feature.
But even so, like that hover where you were pixel shy of getting to the far platform, you might well have sniped GFE if you had gotten that one.
Yeah, I honestly think I hovered that gap like 4 complete times. It felt like, but I just barely missed it by a towel.
Oof,
Yeah,
oof.
that first time was really good. You were like 80% of the way there.
Well, first time's the easiest because you have fresh, muscles.
Right. I
After
mean,
that
you're
fatigue hits, it gets tough.
So what was your go mode? Quote, go mode, since you never found Kane.
The GT big key, honestly, I was like, God, I hope it's in Ganon's Tower because that was the only big key I hadn't found. I was looking for the Ganon's Tower big key and the Gain.
P-Train, you do realize that in this mode, that's always in Ganon's Tower.
Oh no, I didn't.
And
I was
something
like, I
to,
hope it's in there.
Not beforehand.
It's something to remind people that in Invrosia, it is coded that the GT big key is the only big key that doesn't get shuffled in. So the biggest fear that we had for you, P-Train, going into GT was that it was going to be on the right side, and then GFE did Dark Magician, and turns out that it was not.
Yeah, no, that was the only thing I was worried about because I skipped a lot. I skipped the Eastern Palace big key chest. I didn't touch pod. I skipped left side swamp. I mean, obviously anything that was cane locked in Turtle Rock other than Trinex. So I was like, oh well, if it's any of those locations, I'm kind of screwed because I remember like in all of the talks before this, like I knew kind of this mode, but I decided last minute to run this. So I was like, all right, big keys are shuffled. Got it. And that's just what I took from it.
Well, you answered one of my questions. At least silvers were in left side swamp and not an abominable wall or the south chest and swamp, because I skipped those two.
Yeah.
One thing I feel pretty bad about, now that I'm thinking about it, is I miscounted my items in Thieves Town, and I thought there were still 2 in the back, one of which would have been on the boss. If I would have known there was only 1, when I got Mirror and Cack, I would have just mirrored, done Thieves Town then, gotten bow, and pretty much been in go mode as soon as I found the flippers and hammer.
I don't think I counted a single dungeon right. Because I was like, all right, every dungeon has an extra item in it. And then also the boss has to have an item. So in a way, it's like, hey, you just count the dungeon items and then kill the boss. Like that's what I should have been thinking going into this. But I kept trying to count the items, and I swear, like, I don't think I had one dungeon right. Like, even when I was going to Argus, I was like, I'm leaving 3 items in the dungeon? That doesn't make sense. I'm like, there's only left side swamp left.
I had a hard time with that too.
So what are your thoughts on this mode in general, since it's kind of new? It's something that we're picking up in ladder for Season 4, and honestly, these are some really good times that we have seen put up here. We have as little as 126 and as much as 141.
I mean, I personally enjoy inverted, so it's kind of nice to have another mode in it. It would be nice if boots were easier to find, we'll put it that way. I'm actually lucky I even found them, because I could have just skipped Ice Palace Big Chest.
Well, Chimo was in chat while you guys were finishing, and he never found the boots.
Yeah, I mean, I could have easily skipped them, because I was go moding ice. I was just checking nearby things, just in case boots or silvers.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this mode. It's interesting. I don't like. I have nothing against the mode in general. I don't know if I prefer it. It's not to say that it's a bad mode. I don't know that I particularly enjoyed this enough to like ping for it in the Rando Discord. But yeah, I'll probably race it 2 or 3 more times just to really get a feel for it. But yeah, I mean this race was all right.
This seed, the early part, was pretty slow. I mean, basically your only progression was the glove and the lamp, both in the front of Thieves Town, and the rest of the early checks were nothing.
There's one thing that happened after y'all did Aga 1, and it's when you went through the CAC loop, there's just big key after big key after big key.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Like, big key, here we go. I don't know, because Lumberjack had a key, which would have either been Mire or Desert, not sure which. There were just so many big keys in CAC, and I think the Dam had one too.
Yeah, you guys got so many big keys so early. It was like, well, at least you don't have to go big key hunting.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, like I was a little bit disappointed by that because I was like, at this point, like, why even shuffle them? You know?
That's very true.
Like, I don't think I ever struggled for a big key. You know, outside the Ganon's Tower big key, which I didn't realize was going to be in the tower.
As far as a key sanity mode type of race, this was kind of jet in terms of where the big keys popped up.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed. Well, I think by the time you got out of Kakariko, there were literally no required big keys left. Like, I didn't have Hera then.
I'm trying to remember if I found like a single big key in a dungeon. Like, I don't think I found any big keys in a dungeon. I think they were all overworld just about.
That sounds right.
Yeah. And GFE, you never went into Lumberjack and got that lovely desert big key.
I had no reason to. I was in Gomo. I didn't need my boots to be in Gomo P-Train.
Yeah, I had boots, but like pretty early.
Relative. Was a good early play. I didn't make it because I had the cane, so I was trying to capitalize on that.
Yeah, like it was like outside of like the big. I did Kakariko to the desert area. Mirror did the Mire checks, then South Shore, and like I followed that all the way to like I ended up using the portal to go to Sanctuary, Graveyard Ledge, back of Saint, jump back in the portal. Actually checked the first chest in Ice Palace. I'm like, the only way this is a bad decision is if Hammer's like right there on Hylia Island, and what are the odds of that? So I did the first chest of ice, mirrored, got my hammer, and then just went right back in.
Now I saw.
Wow.
So I did Ice Palace without. I did Ice Palace without the hook shot and without the cane.
Yeah, it was just amusing that you first did without the hammer too.
Yeah. So and then after that I went and cleared Skull and Thieves, and then I got my bow, and that's what sent me over to the eastern area. And then I found Hookshot in Sahasrara's closet, and I was like, oh dang, I'm basically Kane and GT Big Key from Go mode. So I was like, if I can hover the Trinex gap, then we're a GT Big Key from Go mode. And I was like, if I had the Kane and not the Big Key, I would totally rush GT right now. So let's go ahead, check the mountain, do Hera, and if we don't have the Kane, we'll just hover Trinex. And I thought there were 4 people on this restream. So I'm like, if Fear, Dunka, and GFE all finish, I'll just forfeit. But other than that, you know, this is going to be the hill I die on. Why not?
So we started with 4, and then we had technical difficulties, and then we decided it would be better to actually track the big keys. But once you use the Key Sanity tracker, it automatically cuts down to 2 restreamed.
Gotcha.
Oh, gotcha.
So I do want to ask P-Train, when you were in the eastern area, did you ever consider dipping into Pendant Pod at all?
Being 2 items from Go mode, no. And I mean that's even thinking that the GT Big Key was wild. Like still, I was just 2 items from Go mode. I was like, it's not worth it. I'm gonna do. I had Swamp Palace, which had a lot of items in it, and then I had Hookshot Cave, Paradox Cave, Hera, Laser Bridge. I was like, no, I'm gonna go ahead.
All the pointless space on the mountain.
Yeah. Chimo did say that skipping DM was the winning play on this seed, but that is one heck of a carrot to dangle when the hookshot basically gives you like 20 checks.
Yeah, that felt so bad. But hey, P-Train, if you just mirrored and check one chest, you probably saved 2 minutes.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, I did that for ice, but that was also, with quite a few items from go mode at that point.
Yeah,
When you're one item from go mode, like, I mean, you can make that call, like, oh, you could have checked Pyramid Fairy. It would have cost you 1 minute, but saved you 10. You could have checked the Desert Palace Big Key. It would have cost you, 1 minute, but would have saved you, 5. Like, at some point, you just have to draw that line,
Yeah.
And you never go into pod like, oh, well, I'm just going to check the first chest and dip. Like with how many items pod has, like you kind of commit to the whole dungeon. Unless you hit go mode in the first chest, and I didn't even want to bother with that. Because my plan was to hover to rock on the first try. And I dang near did it, but many tries later, and then a bottle, and then many more tries later, I finally got across. So that didn't pan out the way I wanted it to, but it is what it is.
I mean, it panned out the way I wanted it to, P-Train.
Well, no matter how it turned out, y'all both put up a great, and I mean great, showing on this seed. Thanks for being on Restream for us tonight.
Thanks for commentating. Thanks for the restream. Appreciate it. Also, special shout out to the trackers. I'm not sure who you are, unfortunately.
Yeah, so we had Jinxie Girl throughout. We also had Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna at the beginning, and then we, once we trimmed it down to 2 restreamed, we went to 1 tracker. Though on that note, I'm also trying to get Big Dunka in here because he's now finished, and since we weren't able to restream him after we changed the tracker, and this mode is his brainchild, I figure we should try to get him in here for an interview if he's willing.
So Scruff left tracking. That explains why I got an Among Us ping.
Hey, I got the same Among Us ping, and my first thought was, wait a minute, isn't he supposed to be tracking?
So while we're waiting on seeing if Drosy can get Big Dunk on here, I will just quickly recap anyone who finished after P-Train. We had Lin in 6th place with a 140.06. Artie Walsh with a 141.08, good enough for 7th. Dunka, the big man himself, with a 146.50. And Sean Rhapsody just finished a couple minutes ago with a 149.21. We do have 4 forfeits. Matt7898, GJ Darkwing D, Freddy N3K, and Signum's just forfeit with the comment, nope, still don't like it. Inverted is one of those kind of difficult kinds of modes that can be very punishing early, and the Ambrosia settings of an Assured Sword, the Wild Big Keys in this case, and the boss items, do you two think this makes it a little bit more intriguing to play? Or is it the same old difficult stuff, just with a different little spin on it?
I
mean, honestly, the sword does... I mean, it's almost like a completely different mode at that point.
Yeah, and then
it's so much easier.
This mode with the big keys only being shuffled is a nice difference. Mixes it up a little bit, although, like you may have mentioned before, in this particular seed, that didn't apply that much.
Yeah, it's also, like, for me, like, it's different. And it's not something that I, like, again, it's not something I'm immediately like, oh man, I had a ton of fun playing this mode. Like, it doesn't necessarily have the novelty that something like Triforce has, where it's like when you run it, it's like, oh, that was really different, and that was really cool. For me, this comes with all of the awkward decision making that Inverted comes with. You know, like, oh, I have a mushroom now. When do I turn that in? I don't have the Hyrule Castle small key. What do I do about Sank and back of Sank? It splits the map in weird ways, which is honestly one of the reasons why I don't like Inverted in the first place. I like the idea of wild keys, but I'm also a fan of Inverted Key Sanity. I'm not a huge fan of Inverted, but I do really enjoy Inverted Key Sanity, and for me, this was kind of it's not enough Key Sanity to be Inverted Key Sanity. and it's also really close to regular inverted as it is anyways. You avoid some of the early boss battles that you might be required to do, but I don't know that I'm, in my opinion, if you want to play inverted, go for it. If you want to play inverted key sanity, go for it. This was kind of in the middle, so I don't know. I'm just kind of have a lukewarm reaction to it. Again, like that's my opinion though. I'm not saying it's a bad mode. I'm just saying that's kind of my take on it. There might be people out there that really enjoy running this mode, and absolutely power to you.
I'll say it's a bad mode.
Got him.
Yeah, we got Fear Agent back in here. We also have the man himself, Big Dunka. So GG's to you.
This is not a bad mode. You guys are just ridiculous.
I don't think what
think it's
you've
bad.
come up with. I just think that inverted is not there yet, because once you get
Inverted
to
has
the
some issues.
right, once you get to the light world and you have access to everything, it's how do you route any of it? Like, do you just go in a big circle? I feel like there's less choice in inverted, and this isn't taken away from what Invrosia is, because I think Invrosia is kind of a cool take on inverted, but I feel like inverted is missing too much.
It's okay. I get it. No, it's if you like inverted, you'll love this. If you don't like inverted, you're not going to enjoy this. It's inverted with little frosting and a cherry on top.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, inverted, while I say I enjoy it, the one thing that I kind of despise is Death Mountain. So if anybody ever wants to hack in a ladder from the bottom to the top of East Death Mountain, I'm all for it.
I think that is on the way, actually, but not in time for V32. I think.
Oh,
I think
wow.
what they're going to do. I think they're going to connect Spiral to Mimic Cave in the Light World. But
Yeah,
gotta get
there's a
that.
few things that they're planning on. There were things that they were planning on doing for V31 that was on the original document that got shelved, and I think they're going back to redo those, like flute in Dark World instead of Light World, flute activation, stuff like that.
See, it's those kind of things that would push inverted, and I think make it more playable. Because when inverted first came out, I played a lot of inverted, and I thought it was okay, but it just gets very repetitive. The fact that like there's so many things that you don't need, like you really don't even need mitts for the most seeds. I don't know, just takes away from stuff.
Mentioning flute and mitts. Did any of you find either of those?
I did.
So. You did.
I did.
Yes, but did it lead you to anything?
Well, it led me a quick trip over to Pod when Pod was the only thing I had left.
Just current jump before doing Agri 1. That's the real strat.
Yeah.
Yeah, just sequence break it. It's free.
I mean, as a bonus, I had 5 hearts going into Aga instead of 3.
Yeah, you were the first person on our Bree-stream to find a heart container, and it happened to be one in Pod, GFE.
Yeah, there were 2 in Pod.
yeah, I had to use 2 of my 3 hearts to get back to Aga Tower after getting my
Oh,
pearls.
I had
I got to
cape
climb
from
on
Pod
1 heart.
featuring, so I could just cape through those Lionels.
So,
Oh, yeah.
Dunka, this is your brainchild. Is this the final form, or are there more things to come for Ambrosia?
Oh no! This is it's with the technology that we have right now. This is what we're gonna get. Unfortunately, we don't have the ability to give a boot hint. It is a standard only flag, so the even the ability to put it on, let's say, the sign outside of Link's house, like it is in actual Ambrosia, it looks when it generates for standard. And so you can't do that with inverted. So there's no way to give a boot hint. I would love to put a boot hint in there just to make it as close to as, the original Ambrosia as possible. But no, we tested maybe, 6, 7, 8 different variations of this with hints on, starting boots, no keys, a whole bunch of different things. And this one definitely seemed like it was the most even, where the big wild big keys was the kind of the kicker. It's like this is what makes it unique without making it inverted keys.
Yeah, it was definitely a cool modification, especially with all the big keys being so early anyway. So what do you have to worry about?
Yeah. Yeah, so no, this is the way I know that we're going to be running this in a couple of weeks. Adding in there the ability to, and I know that Sahash Labat now obviously has the same ability to do this. The latter generation will do the same with randomizing, but making sure the GT big key is in GT. Just stuff like that. It makes it so it's very level. There's a few things I'd like to be able to do, but technology right now doesn't give us the ability to do it.
Well, maybe version 32, right?
Yeah. Can you
Yeah,
spoil
we'll see.
like what's one thing that you wish that you could do?
Well, the boot hint would be the biggest piece, just because it's the one piece of this that's missing. I've been asked a couple of times, and even there was somebody in chat before the race is like, why don't you just give us boots at the start? And I'm of the mindset sometimes you need to earn your speed. So, but giving the boot hint would make it right on spot. The best possible thing, and again, if you're listening out there, all the devs, if you can give the ability to put that boot hint anywhere, put it on the Octorok thing, the hint giver, right at the beginning when you're at Dark Sank. That's perfect. Just throw that in there and I'll be happy.
That is one thing we saw called out in chat earlier today, so that's possible. That's probably the closest thing you have to potentially getting it in your house here.
Yeah, it's really close. I mean, that would be awesome. I suspect that's really low on the list of priorities with what they've got going on right now. But this has been brought up many times in the past over the last month and a half while we were putting this together.
All right. Anyone have any final thoughts before we close up shop for the night?
Thanks for the restream. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I will add again, and I'll say this again, if you like Inverted, I think you'll like this even more. If you don't like Inverted and you've ran Inverted and you just know you don't like it at all, go play Open. But otherwise, give it a shot. I thoroughly enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm just disappointed you guys didn't get to see me farm P-Train and GFE.
Oh, you guys
I'm
missed.
still salty. I hovered and didn't win. I don't get how that works.
Dude, I died on blind, so I actually died on blind.
Oh no!
Because it's inverted.
Yeah, well, it wasn't just that. I for whatever reason I let my slash go and I got in a weird rotation and my brain went. Yeah. Anyway, good night, everybody.
Yeah, thanks again to our runners. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but yeah, do give them all a follow. GFE, P-Train, Fear Agent, and Big Dunka. Just to put in a plug here, this coming Sunday at high noon on the main Speed Gaming Prime channel, we will have a reveal of the divisions and schedule for the ALTTP League, which will be running over the following 7 weeks, featuring 86 teams, including all of our restreamed runners today. So you will definitely want to check that out.
If you're a fan of our daily race series, come join us again tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern Time, as if we have a stream for it, we will be featuring all dungeons open.
Which is another mode that is in both the ladder and the ALTTPR League, so you'll be seeing plenty of that too. And meanwhile tonight, we have on Speed Gaming Prime the Ocarina of Time randomizer quals for Speed Gaming Live, and on Speed Gaming 2 we have the Final Fantasy Randomizer League. So feel free to hop on over to either of those now, and of course give all 6 Speed Gaming channels a follow. A lot of great programming going on here, regardless of the day and time. And thanks again to my co-com Zarovian. It was great working with you.
It's been a pleasure. It's been a while since I've actually gotten to sit down and watch a race, and this is a mode I said, oh yeah, I've got to see this one. So once again, a huge shout outs to all of our runners. Again, 15 people played this seed tonight. and Drosy for joining me on the commentary. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jinxie Girl pressing the buttons for us. And we did have Mr. Scruff Ninja Tuna. He stuck around to watch things for a little while after we had the restream layout switch, but he was on tracking for us as well. So give all of us in the volunteer crew and our friends and family at Speed Gaming a big heart for putting on a show that everyone can watch and enjoy.
And I think that'll do it. So have a great evening or whatever time of day it is where you are.